Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus, and I'm here one more time, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. And that refers to inalienable rights. Those rights that were designed for each human on earth before the human was put on earth to make sure that that human could live on this earth as though they were in heaven. And this is why I've chosen to speak to you today, ladies and gentlemen, on why the heavenly government. Those of you who hear my voice today have never lived under the heavenly government. You perhaps have thought of it. But I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, you haven't even imagined what it's like. The truth of the matter is that humans have been exposed to every kind of possible lifestyle, every possible style of government, and they have all failed to reach that beauty that every individual has desired. The truth of the matter is that we have lived under the leadership, the governments of kings and queens and pharaohs. And if you're a social scientist, you would be able to break that down into so many other different expressions thereof, such as fascism. You know what that means, and you've lived under capitalism. I'm sure you know what that means. You've lived under fascist capitalism. You've lived under democracy. They got all kinds of names that repeat some of the same things. You've lived under socialism, or there are those who have lived under socialism. There are those of you who have lived under what you might call right wing. Others have lived under what you call left wing. And you have also experienced what you call centralism, lived under communism and national communism. You lived under neo-socialism and dictatorships. You've lived under totalitarianism. You've lived under conservatism. You've lived under liberalism. You've lived again, as I indicated, under the right wing, and you've lived under authoritarianism. You've lived under monarchs. And you have lived under cooperatives. And you have also lived under theocracy. And there are so many more. These are just to name a few that men have bent their knees to as they sought their fulfillment of their dreams. And nothing, my friends, have been able to meet it. Now, each system of government that I've mentioned to you up to this point always worked for some. But the masses, it has never, ever worked for. Even when the masses were supposed to be in control. And that means the proletarians. That means the poor, the working class. None of that stuff has ever worked. And ladies and gentlemen, why? It is because of you. You the people. You have been deceived. You've expected somebody else to do for you what you have not been willing to do for yourselves. And in so doing, you have lost that heavenliness. Even for those of you who believe in the Bible, they talk about a time when there were just two people on earth who had control over everything, and they listened to a voice that was set aside when they decided to listen to another voice. And that voice has had and held them and held us in bondage since that time. And if there has been a time when we did not live under that as human beings, I have no history of it. But ladies and gentlemen, it is real that it is possible. In our current government today, we see ourselves living what we thought was a democracy. We thought had some values based upon an understanding of basic character and honesty and respect for one another. And then you see yourselves right now with a president who most of you, at least half of you, think is the worst figure of a representative of your government that you've ever seen in your life. And at the same time, that same figure that seems to be so despicable to you has been pleasant for others. And you've seen men who stood up and spoke against this particular individual. And as time passed, you see them acting like they love him. Now, why does that happen? You think these people have lost their moral courage. They never had moral courage. When you see people like Lindsey Graham, and I'm saying Lindsey Graham because he's been held before you so many times on the media, saying things when it involved another particular party, political party, and when it came to his own, he stood and said it was okay. He even stood behind a man that he said one time was despicable. And now why does this happen? Many of you have been seeking an answer for that. Well, I'll suggest to you, ladies and gentlemen, when things like this happen, it's because they got something on them. And these guys and ladies are embarrassed, and they do not want you to know the secrets. Now, where do the secrets come from? Where are they? You've heard of many secret societies. You've heard of Skulls and Bones, and you've heard of so many others, I'm not going to name them. You've heard of the Masonics and so many others, and I'm not going to name them. But the truth of the matter is that they do exist. And you've heard of the kinds of things that they have to go through in order to become part of these secret organizations. And one of the main things that they go through is to make sure that those things that are secret, that they really don't want to get out, they put you through a process whereby you can do things, maybe like men making love to men or doing some other things that you will never ever want to come out. And so they can hold this over your head when you are forced to do things that you really don't like, but you'll go through it because you don't want it known. I say this to you, ladies and gentlemen, because I've been out here in this wilderness for a long time. I started this real struggle back in 79. And I went through the military, and I stood up because I recognized that the government did not work for the benefit of the people. They worked for some. It's set up with the intention of at least misleading you to think that it works for everybody, but it really isn't. No government on the face of the earth works for all of its people. It only works for some, those that they need to empower it to get over and do the things that they do at the expense of everybody else. And I was speaking a language I had learned by going through a divorce, that when a woman says that she'll love you, that she'll stick by you through thick and thin, that sickness nor poverty will ever cause them to leave you. It's just talk. It is nothing but strictly talk. And so when you recognize that stuff like that is talk, you can respond to it in various kinds of ways. But I responded to it, I didn't want to hear anybody say it. To me, you lie when you say you love people to that degree. You just do not. You don't even know what love is, really. That's my evaluation of it. And I'm looking at the government doing the same thing. So I'm standing up, I'm growing, I'm maturing, I'm learning the truth about life so I can come back out here and be able to share it with you. And don't think they didn't try to set me up. The military security, naval intelligence, don't think they didn't try to set me up. There were often times they would have me walking around and stop at a bus stop where some guy would come out and try to engage me with smoking marijuana. I had no problem with it. I needed a little marijuana, and I smoked it with him. But the point was to see would I do it, and if I would do it, did I have any connection that could be used to bust me on, to have me compromised. I had no problem with it. There's no shame in my game. I even had to go through the experience of being in Japan, where they still wanted to get something on me, where you would have a car pull up with some agents in it, man and woman, suggested that I go out in a secluded area and make love to his wife. He said it was his wife. I knew it wasn't his wife. I knew what was going on. So it caught me at a time when I needed a little sex. And I didn't mind going out there in the boonies. They could have killed me if they wanted, but it didn't matter to me. I'm not afraid of dying. So I decided to go out there and bump what he called the lady, his wife. It wasn't his wife. It was just for them to get some information on me. So if you ever listen to me, they can pull these things up and say, this guy's not what he says he is. Look what he did here. Look what he did there. And they would have me jumping ship like they got Lindsey Graham jumping ship. But there's no shame in my game. I'm a man and I know what's going on. So if I do it, I guarantee you I can tell you why I did it. And there's no shame because I know where it comes from. I know the author of it and I know the point. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying to you, it is the people. You have been indoctrinated. You have been, shades have been pulled over your eyes and you cannot see what's going on. My point of this is to say that all of these systems of government, none of them have worked for you. But I was given a mission. And I was sent out into this wilderness to learn something, and I learned it quite well. And I came back to tell you that all of the systems are crooked. But it's not just telling you that the systems are crooked. What good is telling you the systems are crooked if there's nothing that I can tell you that would benefit you, that would give you an escape from a crooked system and put you into a system that is heavenly? And what is that heavenly system? Heavenly system is that system that everybody talks about. Nobody walks, but everybody talks about. It is that system that you find yourselves with your wants, your needs, your desires being met. It is that system what brings you peace and prosperity and freedom and liberty and joy. It is that system that brings you the fulfillment of your dreams. And the only way that can happen, ladies and gentlemen, is not from me, not from some other, not from a black man or a black woman or white man or white woman or American or somebody else or any of the different systems that I've mentioned to. It's not going to come from that. It's going to come by the original plan. It's going to come by the power of God. The power sitting on the throne that you cannot see, that you cannot touch, you cannot feel, but he rests on the throne of your heart. And by resting on the throne of your heart, the evidence is there, because you want for every human being on the face of the earth the same things that you want for yourself. They don't have to be the same things, because everybody might desire different things, but nothing would separate them from that which is fulfilling to them. And nothing would be approved that causes pain and infringes upon the rights of those who desire something different. That, my friends, means that you, the people, the individual, having God sitting on the heart of your, in the throne of your heart, opens you to respect every human being on the face of the earth, to respect all of the resources on the face of the earth, to be there designed to meet whatever needs you might have, to offer you an exercise whereby you have purpose here on the earth, that you can engage the gifts that you have to extract from the resources that have been given to fulfill all of the aspirations and imagination things that you come up with. That, my friends, is a God that lives there. You don't have to look up in heaven someplace. You don't have to. It's there within you. It's not a Republican. It's not a Democrat. It's not a white. It's not a black. It's not a man. It's not a woman. It's in your heart. People say when you're talking about that, it means you have to be born again, a new creature. That scale comes off your eyes. That president, that king, that queen that you've been looking at, that pope that you've been looking at now sits on your heart. You can't touch it. You can't feel it. You can't even, my friends, emotionalize it. But the evidence of it is just like the earth that you're standing on. It's just like the sky that is above you. It's just like the rivers that flow and flow and flow. It's like the grass that grows. It's like the food that grows. It's like that, my friends, my brothers and my sisters, because it is evidence. It is evidence because there is no lying. There is no cheating. There is no stealing. There is no big shot. There is no war. There is no terror. None of these things exist. And that is the evidence that you have been changed. That is the evidence that you deserve to live the fruits of true life. That is the evidence that you have put man in man's place, and no man is above you and no man is below you. You walk hand in hand with God. This is the power that gives you the ability to walk on water. This is the power that gives you the ability to lay your hands on the sick, they will recover. Because you're laying your hands to do those things that's essential and necessary to take care of the problems that could arise. Because the power of the almighty living God is in your heart. And now, my friends, that's what I'm talking to you about today. Talking about Republicans and Democrats. Talking about Trump and another candidate. Who can beat him? Talking about who got what. All of that stuff is deep demonic. It has nothing to do with truth. And so I find myself, who have been given the opportunity to live in this wilderness, it was a blessing, ladies and gentlemen. It was a blessing. It didn't have to happen, but God loves me. And God loves you. And so when I was giving away my life because it seemed so unimportant to me, God decided to grab that life and give it back to me, with the responsibility of serving God, but knowing that I didn't truly know God, at least to the degree that I could really serve him. This is why I was sent into the wilderness, to learn from that. This is why I know that no church on the face of the earth serves God. I don't care if you're Catholic, Protestant. I don't care what your religious faith is. I don't care if you're Muslim. None of you are fit to say you serve God, because you're not serving God. How many of you think you're serving God? Well, I'm telling you, you're not. You're just serving man based upon what man is programmed you to think. God is not something like that. God is a spirit. Can't see him, can't touch him, can't feel it. But the evidence is always there. And until you can make that kind of change that I shared with you today, you're just a hypocrite, kidding yourself. And all in your communities, they're falling apart. Your streets are falling apart. The storms are coming, and you can't even defend yourself against them. The wildfires, the earthquakes, they're all happening, and you don't know what to do. Why? Because you're a lost child. A lost child. And you know right now that everything that I'm telling you is the absolute truth, but you know good and well you would not commit to it. Not yet. You need a little bit of more whooping. You need somebody to beat you down. You need nature to say, no, you're not fit. And you need to recognize that yourself. And no preacher going to tell you that because they're not fit. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop here. I got about 16 minutes, so I'm going to let you know that the message that I've given to you is, why not the heavenly government? That's what you want. You want heavenliness. You say you want to go to heaven. You got to change. And so the message that I'm talking to you about is about change. A moral change. Get rid of that immorality. Let love replace it. And I ask you again, why not the heavenly life? That's what you all say you want. Do you deserve it? Heck no. Can you get it? Of course you can. But you got to change. Until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying, I want to thank you so very much for giving me this your opportunity, and I hope it has not been a waste of your time, because it's surely been fine for me. Goodbye.